call to order the regular meeting of the Leominster Conservation Commission for August 14th, 2018. We'll start with our continued hearing pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 amended. There'll be a public hearing to consider a notice of intent by Rob Bolio regarding the paving of an existing gravel lot within the riverfront area in bordering vegetated wetlands, address 1145 Central Street, map 549, lot 9, DEP 199, 1071. Angela, you said that Mr. Hannigan will not be here.
Yes, he's requested it to be continued to the next meeting.
And Mr. Bolio obviously is not present. So we will continue. Have you had any communication with them since our last meeting?
Other than for him to tell me that
Just
he would like
that's
to
it?
continue, yes. That's
Okay. All right. We'll continue this to the next, when is the next meeting?
all. August 28th.
August 28th. All right, new hearings pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended. There'll be a public hearing to consider a notice of intent by Thomas Christopher of Christopher Environmental Associates regarding the removal of dirt and fill from a wetland and a 100-foot buffer zone of the bordering vegetated wetland, address 141 Lincoln Street, map 564, lot 49, and no DEP number.
This consultant has requested continuance as he had a prior engagement today.
All right, continue that to the August 28th meeting.
Can I ask a question? Is this the complete packet for that project?
Yes. Yes, I provided you guys with the complete NOI packets. I printed them out before they gave me the digital copy.
I don't have one. Oh,
There's one right there.
Unintentionally omitted.
Have you had any conversations with either the engineer or property owner? Have you been to the site recently?
They haven't started any work yet. They submitted this last week. I did the legal ad, and then he realized he had a prior engagement, so
Okay.
he's getting there, but he got a better notification out as well, and so they'll come to the next meeting.
Okay. All right. Continue that. Any other questions?
No.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our regular meeting, certificates of compliance. FNL Road, DEP 199, 1068. Where is that?
Here's the packet. I'm going to do my site visit on August 7th. The new homeowner is filing for the COC so he can remove the silt fence and straw wattle. On my site visit, the area is stabilized. I was there on a rainy day. There was no flooding or backing up. It's quite vegetated as well.
Did you take these pictures?
I did. It was the septic tank adjustment.
Questions, comments?
It's stable. It was just the septic, right? That was
Yeah.
all?
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
just
septic,
removed
that
the
looks pretty good.
modification.
Yeah.
And this is the as-built?
Yes, the engineer provided that to me, yes.
Because we probably requested that in notice,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
I think if the septic is okay with the city, it's okay with me.
And they did get their certificate of compliance from the Board of Health as well.
Pretty much, yeah. I remember if I think, yeah, the wetlands was pretty far away.
It was across the road, actually, wasn't it? Or was it on both sides of
I
the property?
think, I mean, it shows a tiny bit on the property, but the septic's
Yeah.
back here, so.
Because the whole other side of FNL is all wetland too. So
Right. I think that's fine. Any questions, comments? All right, do I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we issue a certificate of compliance for 30 F&L Road, DEP file number 199-1968.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Thank you. Extension permits,
None at this time.
new communications, Ava Road, Ava Roadway,
Yes.
stormway issues. What's this about?
So there is a development off of Leggett Hill off of Bel Air. It was presented to the commission as Bel Air Heights. It was done by the Southern End Realty developer Mr. Frank Gorman. We had issued a we had issued an order of conditions, and then the DEP had issued a superseding order of conditions. It was sent to the mayor's office that they were having flooding along the roadway below it, because Ava Way's up here and Bel Air is down here. All the water is coming down. There's 5 houses there. They're all lived in. There was some issues trying to figure out who is responsible, as the developer had sold the project to Traditional Concepts, and he was under the impression that the developer was going to finish the road, not him, and it was vice versa. So basically, there's 2 catch basins on either side of the cul-de-sac, and one catch basin has a gravel lip around it, preventing any water from going into it, so all the water is going past it and going down. On the other side, the catch basin is about 2 inches higher than the roadway, so it's all going past it, as well as there is the detention basin there, but the culvert there is filled with silt and dirt, so anything that is getting to the basins is not getting out to the detention basin. I did contact Frank Gorman and Brian from Traditional Concepts, as well as Denise Childs from DEP. They're in contact as well. I think I did supply everyone with the emails. If not, I can forward those from DEP. Make sure.
So if there's a superseding order of conditions, we really don't have any jurisdiction other than the fact that it's in our town, right? I mean, ultimately.
No.
It's-
I have jurisdiction with the
Do we?
stormwater, because of stormwater issues. Here's the emails right now from Denise Childs. I can make copies for everyone.
No, it's not.
Nope, that's
What
me.
street is this name?
This is,
Leggett Hill, Leggett Hill.
it's Bel Air Heights, and it goes up a hill. We did a site walk, and there was a lot of concerns with people up above.
Yeah.
Yeah, you come off of Leggett Hill, take a left on the Bel Air Heights, you drive down maybe 700-800 feet, and it's up on the right. Correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's near the water tank, right?
Yeah,
It's in the steep area near the water tank.
yeah.
And after talking to Brian, Mr. Carlson, he was gonna go out there and take a look and see what he could do to prevent any further erosion. DPW did have a street sweeper go down and clear all the silt from the turbid storm water that had gone down the street below. Myself and the stormwater foreman went out and cleared all the catch basins on the street down below to make sure that they were clear. There was some debris in them. And I did contact Mr. Gorman, who said he was gonna start the process of having the road paved and putting the streetlights in, all the sidewalks in, even though there was a verbal agreement, the deed, he said he's gonna take care of it. He also verbalized that to Denise Childs, as he had in the email. Unfortunately, he was gonna start last week, the process, but because of the rain and everything, it hasn't been the best weather.
Okay.
So are the houses in?
Yep, they're in, and there are people living in them.
But so the road, so the developer was supposed to have the road done prior to building the houses, and they just didn't do it.
That was what,
What,
from what DEP had said, when I talked to them. So they're assisting with enforcement, but for this issue.
And Traditional Concepts now owns the
According
project?
to the deed, yes. Frank Gorman understands that there was a verbal conversation, I guess, after the fact where he agreed to help with the paving of the road and help with the subdivision. So he was like, he said he has no problem helping. He is from Drake, it's a little farther a drive, and with all the weather we've been having, he just hasn't been able to get the process started yet. But he did go out there, I think he said on Thursday or Friday last week, and take a look and see what he could do as well.
And where was the silt? You said there was, we talked about catch basins, and then you said there was silt in the,
Yeah, there's a lot of
Culvert?
silt, from the, yeah, so there's 2 catch basins and then there's a detention basin.
Yep.
If you're looking up to the left,
Mhm.
there's a culvert, it's probably a 24, 36-inch culvert. I couldn't measure, but it's like half full of silt and debris. I did inform them that that needs to be factored out, and that would help with a lot of the issues as well. As soon as they pave, everything's gonna be up to level,
Right.
and that should help as well.
Just keep an eye on that one.
And I
because
do believe there
that-
is a gentleman in the audience.
Okay.
Is it possible to speak on that subject, or?
Just need your name and address.
I'd be happy to. My name is Mark Silverberg. I'm in a butter to that area, and I attended a dozen different meetings here in the Conservation Commission. The commission issued a special permit for that project because of the watershed issues and and all the problems that they were having. And as part of that permit process, the order of conditions was that the homeowners association would monitor and maintain and pay for all of the water supply, all the water issues in that area, so that the city of Leominster would not have to pay for it because of other problems. I would hope that the city of Leominster does not pay a penny for anything that gets done down there, because the developer has not lived up to, and there's no homeowners association yet. And so that all of those agreements have not been lived up to yet. So I just hope that somehow or other, the city doesn't get stuck holding the bag for all of that work, because there was a substantial amount of work and some fairly complex water maintenance or maintaining issues that were put in place for that. So, thank you.
So you left it with Mr. Gorman and Mr. Carlson to,
Yeah, and DEP, they're keeping me updated. That
Right.
was last, I think, the emails from Thursday or Friday of last week.
was the project done?
Other than the roadway, yes,
Yeah.
all the houses are in.
So they're in, they're lived in, lawns?
Yeah,
and
they're all,
plants
yeah, they're
and
all,
growing and stuff, okay. Yeah, that was definitely a hotly contested area because of the slope and
I do believe, I did take a look at the superseding order of conditions that DEP had issued. I did not see anything with the homeowner association on theirs. I know it was on our order of conditions, which theirs would technically trump ours.
right.
But I know the city will not do any stormwater work up there because it's not an accepted street roadway yet. From my talks with DPW, there is a bond on it, so basically they need to finish what they need to do. They need to put the lights in, sidewalks, pave it, etc., before the city will do any plowing up there, anything.
I also spoke with the DEP, and they said that if the local board conservation commission issues certain orders or conditions, that their order does not supersede those local issues, such as the homeowners association and the agreements of how you gave them this board gave them a special permit. So that's what DEP told me, because I'm the one who filed the appeal to get DEP brought into it in the first place.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
How far back, what's the date on all of this work?
I want to say we gave it 2 years ago, is when we ordered, because most of the construction was done winter of
Last year.
16, 17, and finished up this year, I think, right? Somewhere in that
Yeah,
vicinity.
because when I talked to Judy from DEP, she said she was last out there last year, about this time last year. And all the houses were built, so.
So what, it was probably about 2 years old, is when we issued it.
That's when this first came on, I remember a little bit of that. And we have a copy of the superseding order.
Yes, I got a copy off the registry of deeds.
Yeah, I'd like to take a look at both our order and that superseding order, just to kind of get caught up on things. Do you have that electronically? Can you
Yes,
just
I
forward that?
scanned it in this morning, so I can
Great.
email those
Yeah,
out.
if you send that out, I'd appreciate that.
If DEP issued a superseding order, ours isn't currently valid at the moment. So if they don't both remain in effect, it does trump it.
It does.
Yeah. So what they would
But we
typically
retain
do,
jurisdiction.
we retain jurisdiction of the area, absolutely. And there's a special condition in those superseding orders for that, that specifically give the Conservation Commission power still. Or
So-
they have it anyway, but it kind of spells out that you still have the ability to enforce it.
So we enforce their order, not ours.
Right, ours doesn't exist at this point if a superseding one was issued, right?
Hmm.
So what they'll usually do if they want to retain conditions that were issued by the local commissions is they'll just either affirm the order or they'll do a new one and keep some of the important ones that the community decided on. But it's, the one that we issued is currently gone.
And that's the one with the homeowners agreement.
I haven't read it, but if that's what was in it,
That's
right?
what I
take a
saw.
look
I
at
can
that.
send them out to everyone.
So would we have the ability to go back to the EP and have that homeowners agreement inserted into the superseding order?
I don't think so, not without reopening a public hearing on it. And quite frankly, I don't think any developer would be interested in coming in for that, but,
Right.
so you'd have to read the language on the superseding order, see if there's anything specific to it,
All right.
but it does trump ours.
If you could definitely get us an update and hopefully have some communication, because if that's all that's left, if the catch basins are raised up waiting for that last thing of pavement, that's gonna be, this problem isn't gonna go away until that's done,
Yeah.
so.
A couple of quick things.
Sure.
With the catch basin issue, just if you're doing inspections on roadways, Angela, make sure that when they do put binder pavement down, the first course, that those catch basin grades are set to that elevation. A lot of times they'll raise them and they'll be that way from day one because they're anticipating doing the top course later on. But essentially the system's not functioning in the interim and it can sit years like that. So if they've got only binder down, those catch basin grades should be at binder grade. The other thing too is there was that special condition regarding that the roadway be completed prior to the issuance or the construction of the homes. So does conservation sign off on building permits in the city?
Not currently, but I've been working with the building department to develop a form that whenever someone wants to do work or apply for a permit, they have a form they fill out, yes or no, they have wetlands in the property, address, and it comes, then the building department give me the form, they sign off saying that they're caught building that there's, fines as well as it being in violation of the Wetlands Protection Act, which would result in enforcement. And then I would get the paper and I could double check and go online and see, go into the GIS and check the address and then go out to the site and.
Can I make a simpler suggestion? Why not simply put you as the sign off for anything that involves site work on a building permit? That's how most communities are doing it now. It's pretty quick for you to take a look at, the less than a handful that might come through on a daily basis.
They do get quite a few permits a day and they have a 24-hour turnaround time, so I'm not sure if it's just because of the timing thing where I'm
Well,
not always.
building code doesn't require, they have 30 days to act on a building permit application. When I'm reviewing ones for a conservation sign off, I usually get to it within 24, 48 hours at the most. So I don't think timing wise that's going to be an issue, but it can prevent a lot of these problems. I think if you're asking a developer or homeowner to tell you whether or not there's wetlands there, they're not going to know most of the time. Yep.
I'll check with the building commissioner, let him know, see if we can add a spot for me to sign off as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would prevent a lot of this type of issue, or when you have other violations, wetland filling, things like that.
There's kind of been an epidemic, and it seems to have gone away, but in the past, 10 years ago, there was a lot of developers not finishing roadways, and they'd walk away from it, they'd have binder courses down, and,
Yeah, that's.
and that's a lot of the same things that happen with, because with those grades raised up like that, that's why the water's going onto Bel Air Heights, you know what I mean? So that needs to get fixed.
Yeah, well, if they're walking away without finishing roadways, then clearly the bond isn't in place that's gonna
Right.
Which there is a
make the
bond.
incentive to do that. That's an issue. It's a
There is a bond in place. I
Right.
think
performance
they're looking
bond
into
either
that.
needs to be bumped or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So just keep an eye on it, because like I said, I remember that there was a lot of neighbor issues, and that was one because of the steep grade.
Yeah.
That was one of the big concerns we had, was keeping the water out of Bel Air Heights, you know what I mean, so. if you get us an update, hopefully by the next meeting it's fixed. If not, we definitely want to address that with the, either, you know, if they're not gonna pave, at least lower the grates and get the system working, get the culvert cleaned out, you know, that kind of stuff until they can decide to pave it, but that stuff can be done in the rain.
Yeah.
So, any other questions or comments? Okay. The minutes for July 10th, 2018, has everybody had a chance to review them?
I took a look.
They were lengthy.
They were, as was the meeting.
Any changes, corrections, or issues?
I didn't see anything.
All right, do I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
Make a motion to accept the July 10th, 2018 meeting minutes as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Do we have any new business?
No,
Okay.
that's
Boilerplate discussion, did everybody have a chance to review it? Do we like the wording? Do we want to?
Didn't receive any changes, so,
That's good.
right,
Do we want to vote to accept it as
submitted.
submitted? All right, we can do that.
If something were to come up, what would be the process to go back and insert or change? I think we've done a pretty good job with it, but, you know,
We
things
have.
come up.
When things change,
Yeah.
you got to put a new rule or something in there.
Yeah, I mean, we could do it individually, job by job, but
You
it'd be nice
can.
to have it.
And I think that's what we kind of have been doing until, I mean, it seems like we
Yeah,
do this
several
every
things.
few years
Yeah.
anyways, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could either add it to any particular order, and then, you know, once a year, maybe we should review it, or, you know, do something simple like that.
Yeah.
but-
All right.
I think we usually vote, I don't know if you have to technically vote, but we always voted that it be attached to every order
Yeah,
as a standard, so that if we don't say,
right, if you don't say the boilerplate, it
It's
is
just-
part
it's-
of standard order conditions.
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we can, does someone have a motion to accept the order, the standard boilerplate as presented, and attach it to all standard orders of conditions?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the boilerplate standard conditions and attach that to all future orders and conditions that we issue.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? All right. Perfect. This one's here. That'll take care of a lot.
Snow storage anyways.
Yeah. Any update on the Moose Knock Brook?
I did receive some grants that we could apply for to help fund it. I did submit it to the grant writer, Wendy Weeks. They're working on it down there.
Good.
I did talk to one of the foremen at DPW. He did have an idea that may work, but he wants to kind of look into it a little more just to be sure if he could cut part of the fencing out. And he knows of a machine that we could use that may just get some of the compensatory storage out. But I did tell him we'd have to file to have that to do that, obviously.
Right.
But he wants to look into it and make sure it's something we can still do.
Probably a good plan. Okay. 66 Granite Street. Any updates? I noticed Mr. Morrow just walked in the room.
I apologize for being late. I just was in the middle of building my ark, so
That's fine.
a week.
So at this point, we've had a site walk. Everybody's had a chance to look at it. And concerns, questions, comments?
Just give me some stuff on my phone, I'll be with you in a
Okay.
second.
I will make a comment from everything I saw and from all the research I did. I would say the property owner is not exempt, or, yeah, if that's the right word. Where is all my stuff? Totally forgot it somewhere. So I think there's definitely an issue there, and it needs to be addressed. Whether it's removal of the catch basin and/or do something different with it. That is just my thoughts on that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I went through 310 CMR, and when you read 310 CMR 10.04B1, it specifically says, it outlines a lot of dues for agricultural exceptions, but it specifically says not to include drainage in a bordering vegetated wetland. And indeed, this person has a drainage basin with a pipe leading into the bordering vegetated wetlands and indeed the stream. So I don't see an exemption at all.
Okay.
It's just my own interpretation of the regs.
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
The drainage referred to drainage, it refers to irrigation and drainage of a crop field being directed towards a bordering vegetated wetland. This is a subdrain system, which the state has allowed as an exemption in the past, okay? What I'm requesting is that on those issues, my client would file an RDA. The commission could do a positive or a negative. We could have the state come down, take a look at it. My client has been in touch with NRCS. NRCS is going to be meeting on site. I think the lady's name escapes me right now, the agent from NRCS. I can email that to Angela, her name that will be coming down. And he is going to formulate a conservation plan for the whole operation. That particular conservation plan would have to be agreed to by the Conservation Commission as well. It's not like the NRCS just writes it, they give it to you and say, here, this is what he's going to do. You write it, you compare it with all the agricultural exemptions, you could include the drainage, you can include any other concerns that we have, formulate everything into a plan, come to an agreement, and he would have to operate by that plan. If he's subject to a lot of, heavy flows because of these heavy storms, so if he has to do any cleanouts under the emergency provisions to clean out his water sources, he would have to notify you guys before he does that, and he would have a 30-day window to clean it out. He would have to notify you within 3 days of the event. That's the way the law reads, and it would be what would have to be written into the conservation plan. But that would just be the final step in a lot of different steps. So my suggestion is file an RDA on the items that we have concerns with. Bring it up to the board's attention, do a site inspection. I might be even able to get maybe a state DEP agent to come out and maybe guide all of us, because the state's the one that has the final authority on what's exempt and what's not, and the agents they have a lot of experience in dealing with this. And I know that they've been up there in the past. So they should have a record on him.
Okay. Other comments before?
I think one comment just is the fact that no matter what the activity is, they're still supposed to come to the Conservation Commission before he does that. And he came in here with a stack of books saying that, here's the regulations, here's all the rules. Yet, the very basic one is at least give us the courtesy of telling us what you're going to be doing so we're aware of it.
And that's what the conservation plan is supposed to accomplish. So that it's not like every time he does an activity, he changes his crop around to a different crop. If he's operating within his cleared field, he's going to rotate his crops, leave one fallow for a year, maybe open it up to grazing. He doesn't necessarily have to come for all of those because those fall under an exemption envelope. But in this instance, it should be done under a conservation plan. A lot of the farms I deal with have valid books, they have valid plans, everything is mapped out. It shouldn't be any different here, and he agrees with that. In fact, he actually has been the one that's been pushing NRCS to come down to do the conservation plan based on our talks.
Problem I have is when I was on site, I witnessed water coming out of greenhouses that contained some sort of chemical flowing across a road into a catch basin directly into a brook. That's a violation, period.
It's on Blanchard Street, the Blanchard Street?
I don't know.
No, okay.
Well, Mr. Chair, under an agricultural exemption, normal practices don't necessarily mean the best practices. and they're still exempt. It's the same as a farmer who has a crop and lays manure all the way down to within 25 feet of a BVW. It's gonna run off, it's gonna run off into the stream. They do their best to control it, maybe there are different things he could do. That's the type of thing he's gonna have to investigate with his farm plan, with his conservation plan. It's a process he's willing to go through, and he's
No,
willing
I
to
know,
work
but in the
with it.
meantime, we feel that he's dumping stuff into a stream that he shouldn't be, period. And he did it after the fact, didn't come in front of us. So to us, he's in violation. And in the meantime, these plans take months, years, however long they take it in the meantime, there's potential contaminants going directly into a brook.
So he is a small operation, I don't think it's gonna take a number of months to formulate that plan. But in the meantime, I could follow the RDA, we could meet up on site again to see what we can do to control that runoff. There are all different things we could do. I think we just need to put our heads together and do it.
Yes, sir.
How soon could you get the RDA to us? When would you anticipate filing that?
Well, the RDA would basically, I would simply ask, is this exempt, is this exempt? So if Angela, you could get me a specific list of what you guys have concerns with, I will put that right on the RDA, and I could get that done by the end of the week. Now, does Leominster require about a notification on RDA, or is it still just a simple legal ad?
Just the legal ad.
Just legal ad? Okay. Do you arrange the legal ad, Angela, or do I do the legal ad?
So I arrange the legal ad, and then I will send you the bill after I receive it from whatever paper they put it in.
Commissioners?
I'm in favor of doing the RDA now, while concurrently working on that conservation plan. As long as the RDA gets submitted ASAP, then we can address the issues we have concerns with that right now.
Okay. Well, Larry?
I agree with that.
As long as it's on the desk by the next meeting.
And next meeting, okay.
That would be
I can have the RDA done by the end of the week, that's not a problem.
So I think the deadline would be the 16th.
It'll be done, the 16th is Thursday?
Yep.
Yep, you'll have it Thursday.
All right.
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Assuming we have it Thursday, would we be able to schedule a site visit to go back out and look at our concerns prior to the meeting of the 28th? What I don't want to have happen is come in here on the 28th and say, well, now we have to schedule a site visit. Now we're 2 more weeks down the road, because this has been going on for months. And
Correct.
now we're looking at another month. And based on the rain we had today, I can just imagine what went into that brook.
Right. And summer's almost over.
I know.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Angela, when we had a rain event at one point, were you denied access to the site? Is that my understanding?
I was, due to liability reasons.
Okay. So does
He
he
had a
have
flood.
a flood?
He had flood waters he was waiting to recede. They receded by the end of that week. You guys went on that Saturday.
Okay. What is the limit of the flood when it floods, typically?
It usually goes right up to you've got the brook, you've got the crops he has in front, it goes right up to those crops, and it's pretty deep.
Do you know if we can have a site walk before the official RDA comes in front of us, or?
I should be able to schedule
I don't.
something.
Okay. I like that idea, so we can get,
I just want to expedite the process.
Yeah. no, and that's fine. I just get a little nervous when property owners come in and say I'm exempt, and the stuff we read, we don't feel the same way, so. We just need, I guess, another person to say they are or they are not, that an expert.
Now, I actually am in total agreement with the commissioner's concern about getting it done as soon as possible. I think that's an excellent idea, and I am in total support of it. I think that's absolutely appropriate. Absolutely.
If you could send out a doodle, please.
Maybe tomorrow.
Any other comments or questions? All right. I'm gonna skip down, if there's no objections, down to 8C, Exchange Street. Looks like everything is still on hold, nothing going on there.
Yes. I
Nothing.
did email Mr. Morrow as well as Mr. Oldfield looking for an update. I was told I received one on Monday. I have not received one yet.
Okay.
Mr. Oldfield actually had to go down to Virginia. He has an uncle that passed away. And because of the shock of the sudden death of the uncle, now the aunt is in the hospital. So it's one of the few family he has left. So he's actually in Virginia right now.
Interesting.
Okay.
I could poke him to make sure he answers you.
That's fine. As long as no work gets done until
Yeah, I
we
haven't
should
seen
get
any work
concerned.
going on there.
That's fine.
No, it's been quiet.
All right. 35 Berkshire Drive. There was a letter or an email
Yes, I did.
from Mr. Karen.
Yes.
Yes. Looks like he's looking for continuance or,
Yeah, he's looking for continuance. I was trying to get in touch with the homeowner because the site isn't really up to his expectations. I did speak to the homeowner today. He had not been in contact with Mr. Karen. He said Mr. Karen left him a voicemail, but he called me and I said, you need to talk to your consultant,
okay.
come before the commission again. He
And
was unable to make it today. The reasons in there, I don't remember off the top of my
Vacation.
head.
he's on vacation till the 20th, which is obviously next week, so see if we can get an update or get some, not resolution, but for the next meeting, so. All right, 723 Willard Street. Obviously, the engineer and/or homeowner is not present.
I'm all set.
I believe we're all set, Mr. Morrow. Yes. Thank you.
Great. Maybe we can, I'll talk to my client, maybe we can get a site walk in this weekend. You know, if you guys can make it. So I'll talk to him first thing in the morning and get that all set up. And I appreciate all the help. Thank you very much.
Thank you. 723 Willard.
I haven't received any contact on this. The engineer, other than tell me that he would not be here, the meeting asked for everything to be continued.
Okay.
He hasn't said anything to me about this site.
Okay. I would just like to make some comments. I've done a lot of research trying to get up to speed on rules and regulations that some of you already know, I'm sure. I read Articles 97 about 17 times. Mass General Law, the whole thing. From my estimation or from my interpretation, I don't think that there's only one decision that needs to come out. It needs to come out immediately. Period, end of discussion. There's been talk through the years about licensing and all this other stuff. There's a ton of laws that says how and why, and obviously that's kind of not going to happen. So, from where I sit today, they can kind of say all they want, but to me, I don't think we even have a choice at this point other than to take it out and restore and replace immediately. So,
Which we've already ordered.
which we have already ordered. You know, I did read Article 97. I am correct in saying that it needs to go through the commission with 2/3 vote, city council with 2/3 vote, and then general court. That's the only way that can be changed. That is what I read. Is that correct?
The legislature, yeah.
Yeah. You know, they did talk about licensing in there. Basically, the licensing said we can give them a license to use it if it's only used for what that land was intended, which is open space. So that doesn't have, so that there's no mechanism that I read that gives us even, there's just no choice, so. At this point, that's all I wanted to say.
Seems like we're just delaying the inevitable. Just get
Right,
it over with.
that's kind of what I'm saying. I mean, we can wait for the next meeting but I have a feeling they're gonna come in and say, can we have an easement? That was mentioned, that you can't give them an easement. You cannot give a license. You cannot, the only way you can do that is if it stays
Open space.
as what it was intended, which is open space. So that's the only, but that's how I read it, 17.9, so. I have a feeling they're gonna come and ask for that, and I have a feeling that, I know, well, you can kind of guess my feeling is take it out, period, so. I just don't know if we should, or do we wait? Do we just tell the engineer that,
Well, the letter that went out from K&P, what was the date on that again? The most recent one?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that one out. July 18th. It just says, please contact me immediately with your plans for removing the entirety of the facility. And if we don't hear from you, then we'll take enforcement orders, so.
Within 30 days, wasn't it? Or-
Yeah, 30 days.
Okay.
So the 30 days is August 18th.
So I would suggest we probably reach out to K&P in 4 days, see what information they have, and if they haven't heard anything,
Right.
proceed with making a court filing, I guess.
Okay.
So we'll do that at the next meeting.
Any other thoughts or concerns, or?
Well, can we put a mechanism in place just to get that rolling so we don't have to wait till the next meeting?
Get what rolling?
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is, rather than, we don't have to wait till the next meeting and vote on it. Come the 19th, we can already, or the 18th, the 30 days, we should be able to just get the ball rolling, right?
I believe that when we voted on the letter you voted that they had sent out was because they had put in that we had issued a no trespass from the city. So the way I took that was that once the 30 days is up, I can call K&P, inform them that they haven't contacted us, see if they've contacted them. If not, then they would go through the process of issuing the trespass, and I figured that's what we had voted on, so I wanted to make sure.
Yep, and
If that makes sense.
yeah, and I think that's exactly what Brad's talking about, and that's what Mary's talking about, so. I would say, at this point, yeah, there's been some verbal talk about this is what we think we're gonna do, but it's now let's say 14th. Today's the 14th, and we have no official communications from anyone, so wait until the 19th, and if there's nothing, then we bring them to court. That's kind of because in the 28th, that's what's gonna happen, it's just gonna be another 2-week delay, and the same thing's gonna happen, so. Okay.
And in going to court, what is it, a trespass charge? Is that?
I believe that's what I believe it's trespassing on city property. Yeah. Trespassing on city property.
So it's conceivable that they could have contacted the attorneys that we used, and we don't know it.
Correct. So,
So we'll give them the benefit of the doubt until the 19th.
correct.
I'm good with that.
Angela, on the 19th, could you follow up with K&P?
I will.
Thank you.
Is
If
that a
it's Sunday,
weekday?
I'll call.
Is that a weekend?
Think
Is that a
it's-
weekend?
I think it's Sunday.
Make sure it's 6 a.m. Sunday morning.
Yeah, that's Sunday.
I'll be
All
on
right,
here.
you can wait till the 20th. That's fine. Yeah, after this whole packet that I read over and over and over, we're just prolonging the inevitable, so. Might as
There's
well start.
also a Senate bill that should become law by October 19th. It's an emergency bill, Senate Bill 2181, to enforce protection of Article 97 lands.
Okay.
And the way I read it was that if it's not voted on within a 1-year time frame after the filing of that bill, that it automatically becomes law. So I don't know where that stands right now.
Okay.
That's what you sent me, correct?
That's when I asked you to look into at the State House.
Yeah, so I did speak to a gentleman at the State House. I don't have my sticky note with his name here. We did have a long discussion about it. And he basically said that it could get approved technically before that, because they do have meetings with the governor, but he would let me know if that happened.
Okay. And that just gives us the general law to
It
enforce
outlines
that.
all the protocol, because, you know, we're the public agency that holds that property right now. So if we wanted to transfer it, say, to DPW or back to the mayor's office or whatever,
Right.
there was no provision in there for, there was a provision for transferring it to a private owner under a lease agreement. But it's similar to what Article 97 says. The lease has to be for the intended purpose of what the land was set aside for in the first
Right.
place. So it's a whole series of protocol that will give us enforcement powers that just aren't in place right now.
Okay. Perfect. All right. April 20th, August 20th, sorry. Project updates.
So I did receive a phone call from Katrina from Mosquito Control about the 40 Minnesota golf course. They did get approved for a plan for a broken pipe, but the plans involved clearing out the drainage ditches.
Is it the same drainage ditch that they were in front of us?
There's actually 2 of them that they're going to be clearing out. I did go out there today due to the flooding on Garage and Muskilma. I did take a look at the golf course and take a look at the drainage ditches, as well as the pond and dam they have. It was definitely it was something that benefit them to have mosquito control get out there and clear it. But when I spoke to her, she said maybe October they'd be out there.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if you look at the last page of this packet, it says all excavated spoils will be spread in uplands or moved off-site. I think we might want to tell them to move everything off-site, because if they start spreading that in the uplands, there are a lot of isolated wetland areas in those uplands. That's what I saw when I was there on the site with Angela. There are a lot of pockets that are up beyond those drainage ditches that are actually feeding them. I mean, the water does come down off of the adjacent farm property, but it's creating these unique little wetland pockets that are underneath the understory of typical upland vegetation. So if they start taking all these spoils out and just spreading them willy-nilly up top, we're going to have another problem.
Okay.
Unless somebody's there to supervise exactly where it's going.
And I did speak to Katrina. She did say she had no problem with adhering to any of. I did inform her the RDA and the DOA, and I did send her a copy of that as well, because they had not passed that along. And she said she had no problem adhering to any of the special conditions that we had asked for on that sheet that I had sent them. But I just wanted to present you guys as an update.
Okay. I guess maybe I'm a little confused. So they came in front of us for an RDA to clean out these trenches because they were full of silts and everything else, and we all agreed that it was a good thing to do. So we need mosquito control doing the work? Is that what it's really come down to?
My understanding is that they have been in communication with mosquito control before. They've been in communication with us, but due to mosquito control's team size, they informed that they're not sure if they're going to be able to get to it this year.
Okay.
And so then they had filed with us, but then mosquito control got back to them, obviously, and said that we should be able to get to you this fall, winter. And so I believe this is their plan. I haven't been able to speak to Mr. Johnson on this yet.
Okay.
Had a busy afternoon, but I'll be contacting him tomorrow.
Okay. So it's just a matter of they're the ones looking to do the work under that RDA.
Well, they weren't informed of the RDA, of course, they were just gonna do their work under their exemptions.
Right, okay.
But she said no problem, she didn't have any issues working with us or having me on site.
I do remember Mr. Johnson talking about spreading the material and taking it off-site, and
We had
unfortunately,
agreed on taking it off-site, that was one of the conditions.
that was one of the conditions, okay?
He was gonna stockpile and perhaps use some of it on the course itself, and there was a long discussion about, well, how much material is coming out.
Right.
It's hard to,
I
come
remember
up with
all
an
of that.
exact cubic yard footage. And now it's a whole different story. You know, Mosquito Patrol's just gonna come in and start spreading things.
I would definitely,
So I can pass that along to her.
yeah, have them remove it off-site.
One thing though is, as long as, like, I know we had some concerns about like the bottom of the bank, you know, the bottom of the channel, make
Yeah.
sure that it's not, you know, don't dig down too deep and it's the right elevation. Mosquito control sort of has the ability to kind of do whatever they want. So we just kind of want to make sure it's done with care. Sometimes they can go in and they don't have to follow any, I mean, I don't know what their guidelines are, but they don't really, it seems like they kind of can go in and dig up, you know, like there was some on Exchange Street where there was some flooding right behind the condos. And
Okay,
they just went into the brook with a backhoe and dug it out, you know. So they
Okay,
seem to
I
be
see
able
what
to
you-
do a lot more. They have a lot more leeway than
it was
once we.
very specific on what we wanted here.
Right, so we just want to be careful that they at least are mindful of the,
Following our RDA.
which they seem to be willing to do, so.
Yeah,
that's-
they were, very willing to work with us, but it's
Okay.
not accepted, obviously.
All right. Yeah, I would make sure if that's what we had specified, and I apologize, I couldn't remember, but if we specify taking it off-site, I think that's, especially if there's pockets up there, uplands, so. All right. Any other questions or comments, thoughts?
I just have one quick question, sort of related to the mosquito control. All these companies that spray for mosquitoes, that just go around people's yards and spray chemicals, I mean, is there some sort of like requirement that, you know, if you're spraying chemicals into like a wetland area? I drove by one day and I saw like 100 trucks in Fitchburg. with
Oh, they're
mosquito.
everywhere now.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere, you see them everywhere.
Is there any kind of license, like,
So I've actually been working on the vegetative management plan for Leominster with the DPW this week. And I've done a lot of research on the licensing for any sort of like pesticide or insect control. They do need a special license to do any sort of right-of-way spraying, as well as to do, if they're doing like residential spraying, they would have to be licensed to do it, as well as there's all different sorts of like chemical makeups, the way it's explained to me, like each, so for example, like they could spray, they could cut down trees, birch trees, spray the trees, spray that area, and only the birch trees would die and disintegrate, but none of the vegetation will. Like there's different sorts of different chemicals they can use. So without talking, they probably, most likely if it's a licensed company with a better, a truck, for example, I can't think of any mosquito control off the top of my head, they most likely have the correct licenses as well as the correct chemical mix, because it's heavily monitored by the Department of Agricultural.
Wouldn't it be incumbent on a landowner that has wetlands on their property to file with us? Because it is alteration of the wetlands.
I don't know how that would work. And I'll tell you right now, unfortunately, most people don't know, nor do they care if there's wetlands on their property.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
usually
know
the
if it trumps
early.
it. I can most have to look into it, but I do believe because of the health issues, it can trump. And I do know mosquito control will spray
Really?
from the
Yeah.
street, like they don't go into people's backyards to spray. They'll go into people's backyards to clear the drainage and you're gonna stand in water.
I just happen to have,
Joe,
Did you get some stuff in the mail?
I just
Must
happen to
come
have all
up.
kinds of flyers that come to
I
my
feel like you're
I had to mention this to you after a meeting one
You
night. I
did.
said, this is gonna be a subject that's gonna come up pretty soon. I could just feel it.
Yes.
but yeah, there's a few of them, they
They're
go
everywhere.
in the yard
You
and
can
they
go in
spray
your
the.
yard, yeah.
I feel like they, from my research this past week into the different insecticides and pesticides that are used, it's very difficult to get the license. You have to take a very thorough test. So I can't see these companies risking that issue, but I can most definitely contact them and take a look and see what the process is. And
I just want to make sure we're not dropping the ball on something, you know, by just.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm thinking, if, let's say, for example, I'm a landowner and I've got wetlands in my backyard. And you're a landowner, you're my next door neighbor and you own part of that same wetlands. And I'm anti-chemical. So you have whatever company it is, Mosquito Joe or whatever it is, they come and they spray. And all the residue that you have is drifting into my yard. I don't want that. And I'm gonna go down to the Conservation Commission and ask them to look into it. I think there's gonna be a time where we're gonna have an issue.
And I would agree with you, because it seems like this summer has been a lot of,
I've seen a lot of them.
I've seen a lot of trucks, and it, you know, and I know a couple people have asked me about mosquito, you know, residential. I mean, in the old days, I remember the city going around
Yeah.
spraying with those noisy ash
Right.
nets, and, you know,
Private companies.
but it's definitely on residential, so.
Yeah.
Could you just do a little research to figure, because
Ask the
I,
DEP maybe, see what they.
yeah, see if the DEP has any little,
I've developed a relationship with someone, one of the directors of the pesticide insecticide department at UMass, so I'll give them a call too and
Okay.
see what the regulations are for Mass.
especially when it has to do with, obviously, wetland.
Yeah, and they seem
Because
pretty
that's
well
in
versed.
jurisdiction, so.
Yeah.
But it's very, yeah, it's very prevalent around, so. Okay. If, yeah, for the Manusnak, if you could just let them know of all our conditions, that's fine. Hill Street Conservation Management. I asked Angela to put this on the agenda for the commission just to discuss, just to get some updates on the survey work. Has it been done? And we were talking about the signs, and I think you mentioned someone had did a little maintenance up there around one of the stones and all, just to kind of get us up to speed.
Sure, so I did reach out to the DPW and Mr. John from the DPW. He'll be doing a survey and he'll have it to me by August 27th, so we have for the meeting on August 28th.
Okay.
I also, when I had gone there, I had someone go out there to try and map some trails on a GPS app. Unfortunately, it was a little bit difficult, and he did notice, just bringing attention to what I'm talking about, he did notice that there was a lot of ATV trails up there
Mhm.
that were pretty deep rutted in. He did make some notes of that for me.
Yeah,
Which
that's,
you- and then it was also brought to my, and I went there to go meet with him. I did notice that the granite stone and the kiosk area has been completely cleared. It was pouring rain, so I wasn't able to get out of my car to kind of go see if it had been chemically sprayed or cut down. I haven't had a chance to get back out there yet this week. But I'll be looking, I did talk to DPW, they weren't really aware if anyone had done it.
Okay.
But there's also quite a few guys on the team, so some guy may have done it while he was out there.
yeah.
Someone also posted one of these conservation signs that we have there. So it's,
Those are nice.
why thank you.
So that, there's a copy of that in the kiosk?
Yeah, there's a copy of this next to the granite rock and next to the kiosk.
Okay.
For the time being, they will have to be updated once the city hall does get new phone numbers.
It's got a whole phone number on it.
Which should be happening sooner rather than later, since our phone systems are a little wonky right now.
Okay.
Let's see what else. I also met with the Leominster Trail stewards today, and Judy Sumner to discuss possible trail connections. I also had an impromptu meeting with Roger Brooks from the water department with his concerns about the watershed land.
Okay.
He informed me there's actually a lot of issues with illegal trails being put in on the watershed land. It wasn't like an official meeting, because he was concerned about that, and so when I met with the Leominster Trail stewards, we did discuss that as well, how to best avoid that. And
Do you know if they put the trails in?
Yep,
or-
they
did.
want to be a part of this. Mr. O'Brien offered to come tonight, but I said we're not really going to be discussing too much. It's more of an update tonight, and providing information. So he'll be at the next meeting, but he was very helpful.
Do you know these illegal trails? Did they put them in, do you know? Or
No,
was
they
it
did not
just-
put them in.
Okay.
I believe that probably some of the residents around the area may have put them in, some other
Okay.
people. But there was, we had a brief discussion about how we'd possibly close off those trails because the issue is that there's being litter and stuff being left near the watershed and then people
Yeah,
fishing
it's an
in
issue.
the
Okay.
reservoir. So that was one of the main concerns. And we did look at a larger map and we did kind of see like we could do a very easy loop around that would be easy for pretty much anyone in the community to do, as well as that loop would be able to connect to other Leominster trails that we have in the area.
Okay.
And kind of open the area up because a lot of the other trails, they have a parking area that you have to park on Elm Street, walk down the busy road, cross the street, go over, go in, and hike half a mile, and then you can get to some trails
Right.
up the fire path.
Okay.
But they were very willing to help and very excited for this.
That's great.
And we did talk briefly about possible parking arrangements. This summer I was thinking maybe we could do up in the field more like behind the kiosk, and then I told her we're gonna wait till we get the survey
To
in.
figure out. Okay.
Just one thing on, just since we're kind of talking about this stuff, one thing that we might want to think about with the parking is just make sure whatever we do, it's sort of defined. To kind of
Yeah.
keep, I don't want vehicles to
Just
start
be
just
all
spreading out,
over, right.
because it is a tight spot. We have a butter, so we want to be respectful.
Right,
And
right.
there's
And I
the-
haven't,
it's,
I never really thought of
Old
that.
telephone poles from DPW kind of lay in front.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Erickson said he might have some granite posts he could donate. If not, I'm sure I could find something.
And I know for enough gravel to put about 4 or 5 spots, it's basically a truckload, so you're looking at about $500 to gravel that area, which is probably the best. You're still gonna have to, weeds and stuff can grow up through it, but at least it'll give it a somewhat defined, you know what I mean?
And that's something else I discussed when I had a meeting this morning with the best vegetative management at Leominster. We met with the company today who are going to possibly be contracting out for it, and he had discussed with me a couple other sprays that they can use that are best way to put a little gentler, better for the environment. And that's when we discussed that I brought the birch trees that we have encroaching on the field. And he said, we do have a spray, after you cut it down, you can spray it and it'll kind of keep the birch trees from growing as well as not affecting the grasses and the natural vegetation.
That'll be.
And so me and Mr. Racine, we're pretty happy to hear that because that would save a lot of work, a lot of money, and a lot of time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we don't want this to be a maintenance nightmare for the
Yeah.
city or anybody else, but,
But the trail, Mr. O'Brien from the Trail Service was very happy that I reached out to him asking him where he got his kiosks from, because I know we discussed possibly getting him a larger kiosk, and I drew up an idea. I left you guys all my lovely
your
artwork.
I think the dog waste thing is going to be huge.
I think that's
a
very
really big.
important, especially
Yeah.
where,
I know it's a big issue on trails.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
and
So,
it's pretty affordable for what it is. I think, I don't have the quote with me, but I think I saw online for like $160 for a metal lease thing and a sign and bilingual, and then the bags are fairly inexpensive.
right. Okay.
Do you have a question on ADA for that parking lot?
I mean, sorry. So I did speak to Peter Nile from the building department, and he was like, well, if there's any handicap trails, we need to have handicap parking. I did also speak to the state, and he said, I did supply the email to everyone, I believe, that is accessible as the site will allow. And quite honestly, on my experience on the site, I don't think unless we went in there and made it handicap accessible, I don't think it would be wheelchair accessible.
Right.
I can't see that, so he said that, we would not have a need for the handicap parking,
Okay.
so we can't use the area.
Yeah, it's,
There's a few areas that the trail stewards have worked on.
I know, like,
And that's something we said that we
Park
could
is
in the
all
future do, but
handicap.
just for the time being, I guess.
I mean, the first trail is up that pretty
It'd be
steep.
quite a push
Yeah.
up, and
It'd
they've
be-
got those big balloon tires on a chair.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know that we could get the grade.
no, so I guess I wouldn't worry
Yeah,
that
and
much
if
about.
Yeah.
and I also spoke to Mr. Bryan, was that in the future, if we wanted to, in the future, we can add that in the handicap accessible trails. But right now, he said the most important thing is kind of becoming in compliance with the grant and getting a nice trail in there as well as the parking.
Okay. So your little, pick up your dog waste, you're thinking about down by kiosk or maybe up by the
I
trailheads?
think maybe up by the trailhead because people are more likely
Yeah,
to use it then than carrying it all the way to the car, unfortunately, but
right,
I don't have a problem with it, I
Right.
just people might accidentally drop it somewhere.
okay. So you said they put that sign up there temporarily next to,
Yes, it's
next to the
kiosk,
kiosk,
it's
just like on the,
it's like on a half piece of
oh.
metal, like those things they put stop signs on, metal poles, I got a
Okay.
half size of that, so.
All right,
I was very surprised when I pulled up and saw it.
Is there no parking sign still there?
It is, there's still a debate because someone had informed the DPW that there was an ordinance. I have not been able to find the ordinance, so I'm working, it's been a really busy week down there with the weed program that we're trying to get out. So I'm gonna give Ray a call tomorrow about that.
okay.
Didn't the city council say there was no ordinance for parking?
That's what
No
Mr.
parking.
Bedanza said when
Right.
I was here.
Yeah.
I think I asked him.
Yeah, Mr.
So
Bonanza,
I'm not sure if I can just have them move the sign down so it's not right in front of the parking area, but I feel like once we get the survey of the land, that'd be a better time to
Yeah.
wait.
yeah, just to figure
Because
out.
once you put up the boundary markers, it won't really, if it's on outside the boundary markers, it won't really matter because you'll see the defined parking area.
Okay. All right.
Can we get some, is there a way to check, is this someone to sit in city council that can verify the ordinance? Is there like a set, like someone to,
So I did work with the clerk, the city clerk as well as this assistant city clerk and myself. We went through about 10 years of ordinances and we didn't find anything. We found an ordinance for a stop sign. I also double checked with the police department as well and they weren't able to find anything. But from my research of some people who have lived here for quite a while is that a lot of signs were put up on that road because it was known as Lover's Lane, I guess. But if there's not a city ordinance, even if there is a city ordinance, I don't see a problem with them moving it down a couple of feet so it's not right in front of the parking area.
So obviously, it sounds like, this commission wants to make this more inviting to people. One of the things we talked about was kind of like one large sign, kind of encompassing a lot of things, so. And that's kind of why I asked Angela, to, come up with some pictures of what a nice sign would look like. Maybe, can we get a consensus on what we would like to see on the sign as a commission? And then she can kind of go out and price it out, you know what I mean? We don't have to get down to every word, I just,
yeah.
like she has a trail map. I think that's great, kind of that picture. I couldn't figure it out at first until just now that said sights to see. It was all like one word. It's kind of like what she's got.
My art skills are limited.
I think the history of the area, because that's directly right in our grant, I think that's very good to be on the map. What's all these little things here? Is that kind of what that?
Yeah, so because we are gonna have to replace those or adjust them with the correct phone numbers in the long
Right.
run. I was thinking if we're gonna order new kiosks, we could just put the little,
Yeah, the little
things
symbols of what.
authorized. I did a lot of research on different signs at different state parks, and a lot of them would have like a giant post, and it would have it all listed on it in like little squares. It was large, it was easy to see, and it looked pretty nice.
Okay.
Yeah, those squares are nice because it doesn't matter what language you speak.
Yeah,
You
and I
can-
feel like if we order
they're-
just the squares, we'd be able to, because I know like, for example, Prospect Park has different restrictions than Hill Street would.
Right.
I also talked to Mr. Rosso had sent me those images of the different signs. So the sign we do have there is in compliance with the grant, because it does say that pretty much the same exact thing, the Commonwealth on it.
Okay.
So if we wanted to leave that sign, that would be fine. But if we wanted to obviously adjust the kiosk.
Well, ideally, what I'd like to see is a sign similar to you have drawn up here, maybe right directly underneath it is the Commonwealth sign. Because right now it's just kind of like
It's kind of
scattered.
scattered around,
You know what I mean? You got the kiosk, kind of make it like a,
Let's bring them together.
kind of bring it all together, you know what I mean?
I also found this sign in my office because I do know that there was some concerns about people being there after dark, so I wanted to present this as well, something we have as an option.
Okay. Right.
Can I see that on the second? So this is there now?
Yes, that's one that's there now.
One thing I was just thinking, it says closed dusk to dawn, but they do the night hikes with the city. Like, would it have to say like without permission?
I think adding something, with permission. I do know that almost all the city of Leominster signs say that on it, and they
Yeah.
still do the night hikes because
Yeah.
the city.
It's run by the
organizes
city, and it's city-owned property,
Yeah.
so.
I think that, unless you wanted to enter, like a permitting process for that, but I feel that if
Okay.
Ms. Sumner is organizing it, it's usually advertised on their website, so I don't see that being a problem.
I just don't want to
Yeah.
exclude the city from using, I
Yeah,
just.
I don't think Ms. Sumner feels that way, because I do know these are on her,
Okay,
not her
perfect.
properties, but
Oh,
Park and
the
Rec
dust
properties
is-
as well,
okay.
yeah.
I just don't want to make it difficult for them to do their.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Comments, questions,
I think it's a great start.
further discussion? Okay.
Are we able to ask questions?
Yes, if it's brief, sure.
I just had a question about the dog waste. So you're gonna have bags for them to pick it up, and then is the intent that they leave with their bag, or they're gonna leave their bags somewhere
They're the
there?
receptacle.
And who will be emptying it and how often?
Typically the same people that would do it at all the other city parks.
How
often
is that?
The rec
It depends
department.
on the usage.
Correct.
And if it gets overflowing and looks terrible, who do we call to say it's overflowing and looks terrible?
Well, we could just not have a receptacle and have people take it with them. I mean, it's not unreasonable.
I know, it was like a campground, what you go in with, you take out with?
Yeah.
Carry in, carry out.
Yeah.
I mean, I know like the Boy Scouts have the whole leave no trace thing, and maybe we have to
Yeah.
do sort of a thing where they just, we provide them
I think
means to
it's,
keep it clean, but we don't provide the means to.
People will leave it, then what?
Then I
We're
don't,
gonna have plastic bags with gifts.
We have gifts without plastic bags now, but.
But those will break down. They're in a bag, they won't.
not all of us.
I have a question. Are these dogs gonna be leashed?
I think that's absolutely, there is a leash law in Leominster, so any unleashed dogs are technically breaking the law.
Well, some people that walk their dogs up there
Do not leash.
think that they don't have to leash.
Right.
And we live right there, and we had an episode where we couldn't get out of our car because these two big dogs were barking at the car. One of them went and grabbed his shirt. So the person said, oh, it's out here, they don't have to, leash.
Fortunately, in the city of Leominster, there is a leash law. There is no unleashed dogs. We don't have a dog park here. In that case, that would just we call the police, and they would come out and obviously assist, as well as there will be signs because it's an unsafe situation for everyone.
We call the police.
Well, do we have a dog officer?
We do.
Yeah.
So we could put that
We could
that
put
number,
it.
maybe the kiosk could actually include that,
Yeah.
Yeah,
along with maybe a leash law.
I was just saying, if it becomes a situation where you're locked in your car because of aggressive dogs, that's a police call, obviously.
Yeah.
I would necessarily call the police in that situation.
Well, this post should not only have bags, but it should have a sign that says Leominster has a 24-hour leash law.
Yeah, and I can put I can get the fines, because there are fines
Yeah.
yeah,
associated
the
with that.
little thing there.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I know the Leominster Recs really pushing that,
We
with
have
their
those
trails,
calls.
because there's dog waste all over the trails, and,
I believe off the top of my head, the fine is $100
yeah.
for if you drop your dog waste.
I think by,
How do you
Keeping-
catch them?
well,
If it's out in the woods and they're,
you don't, you just,
Yeah.
Our thought on this was, at least if you provide them with a bag and maybe a little sign that says, pick up your waste. Like I've brought my dogs before Barrett Park, didn't have the restriction that there was no dogs. They had the little kiosks and stuff, and people would stop, and where before they had anything, people would just let their dogs go. So you'd hope that by offering this, they'd help, you know.
Most people are pretty good. You're always gonna get somebody that, whether it's a sign, a bag.
Yeah, they're gonna do whatever they wanna do, and there's nothing we can do, but I think it's in the environment's best interest to control dog waste as well, so.
Great.
Okay. You said you had some insights into sign vendors from Mr. The Trail Stewart guy, what's his name?
Mr. O'Brien, sorry.
Yes.
I'm like, which one? Yes. We had a brief meeting today, which got cut short due to an emergency I got called on. But he's gonna come to the next meeting with all the wonderful ideas and all the different resources that the trail stewards can bring.
We can get some pricing,
Yeah, I can give him.
do you know what I mean? I think kind of what you have here is a good idea of what should be on the sign and, you know.
I mean, the other thing too is with this kiosk, I mean, between Boy Scouts, Eagle projects, we have the vocational school. We might be able to even have something like that built, as sort of a, you know, some sort of
Correct.
project, you know.
I know Boy Scouts don't start until September 10th this year, and I'm not sure about if Eagle Scouts are a summer program. I was gonna look into that once the school started and see if they had any, if we could maybe make it like a project for the carpentry.
Yeah, I mean, my son was in Boy Scouts, Mr. Giannakis' son, you know, is or was in Boy Scouts. You know, so we know some local leaders that could definitely, this is right up their alley, you know. So, any other comments or questions? Yes, sir?
My name is Frank Flynn, I'm at 234 Hill Street. Earlier, I think you folks mentioned something about trails into the woods. Can I ask where those trails might extend into? Are they
They're gonna
going
link
deep?
into existing city trails. Like the city already has trails that kind of, they're trying to link different pieces of property together. So they're proposed, like one of the things that was discussed today is to put a loop trail in. So it'll begin at the parking lot, end at the parking lot, but it will also connect to an existing city trail.
Right.
Okay. Also, are you folks still looking into the entrance of hunters to come into that section?
We're sort of not discussing that right now. It was just we're kind of focusing on just getting the sign.
Well, I'm concerned about if people are going to be allowed, which is a great thing, into the woods, then you're going to allow hunters to be in that same location? That just doesn't...
Yeah,
seem
and a
to
lot of
add up.
towns, they do that. They have special signs that they put up, you know,
Okay.
during the hunting season. Please wear bright colored clothing. Please be aware it's hunting season.
Okay.
You know, a lot of places I hunt, they say that, you know, just be aware that this is, you know, it's
Okay.
hunting season. You want to be careful.
Okay.
You got to coexist. That's kind of how it works. Everybody wants to use the same piece of land.
Most hikers just stay out, you know,
Yeah,
during
it's
the
just
season.
I
trails.
don't. I just wear something bright.
Yeah.
I know that
Make a
a
little
lot
extra
of,
noise, you know, so they know I'm there.
after speaking to the trail stewards, people at the state house, as well as other conservation regions, they all kind of have the same excerpt on, you know, on that, you know, stay on the trails, wear blaze orange, the hunter harassment laws, as well as we had discussed last time, the 500-foot radius laws, which are all very basic. I'm still waiting for Mass Wildlife to kind of give me a printout of the sign that they suggest,
Okay.
the vacations and everything, so.
Okay. Do we want to just have a very brief discussion on what we kind of want on the sign? Or, meaning the kiosk sign, you know what I mean? And what Angela has here, I think, is pretty good, actually. Trail maps and what's allowed, what's not allowed, rules, regulations, sights to see. Are you gonna go out and make a little, come see this tree because it's got a cool thing, and come see that tree?
That was my, yeah, it's my game plan once we, don't have so much rain to
No,
go
that
there
is-
and take some, pictures of areas. I did see that on some other trails what they had done was they had the sites to see And with social media kind of becoming such a big thing, there'd be like a post there with a, you know, little like just a little
Information,
name, or just
yeah.
like a little information thing. It's probably not something we have to put in now, but that's
Right.
something I saw and I thought was pretty cool.
Okay.
Kind of bring in
Right.
the newer population
Yeah.
to like, you know, geocaching is also another thing that's pretty popular.
Yeah.
Gotta get Pokemon out there.
Oh, Pokemon Go, oh, please. So,
This history of the area, what would that contain? Just written material or photographs?
I was gonna connect with the historical society when they had a free, you know, some time, just kind of see, because I didn't know there was the spring water up there, the lost farm. There's a lot of history up there. Mr. Erickson was telling me that there was all these different businesses that run out there in the past. So I think just maybe having a brief, you know, history of Leominster to kind of bring it to
Yeah.
educational purpose.
about that land. That was a good, I like the sign. So,
Well, would we have to decide the size of these signs before the kiosk is built? I mean,
Yeah,
I think
I mean, that's why I'm hoping maybe by the next meeting we can, you know, she can say, well, a sign this big is gonna cost X amount to make, or,
Yeah.
and do we want it, you know, we're gonna have to decide, do we want these things that we attach to it, or is it, you know, like verbiage, some of them are carved into wood, like the existing sign that's there from the Commonwealth of Mass, you know,
right.
so.
I think we wanna keep it not
definitely.
crazy with, I mean, we're talking about signs, I think.
No, you don't want it to, that's what I mean, like.
Yeah.
Keep it all in the one spot. We don't want them spread out everywhere.
Right,
To
I
defeat
think
the
it'll look
purpose.
much neater, cleaner, and I like pictures. That's why I like, you have the trail map I like, and, you know, sites to see, you could have a couple pictures, like, you know, with some stuff, so. And I like the little, instead of listing, you're allowed to walk, but you're not allowed to ride an ATV, just have the little pictures there. I like that idea too, so.
I think
And the
that,
dog on a leash is one of those pictures. It doesn't look like it, but there is a dog on a
yeah, I think that's important because,
Is that what that is?
you know, we have so many people with so many languages here, you know, that this offers everybody the opportunity to use the property and understand the rules
Yeah.
without having to worry about it not,
Yeah.
yeah, it's universal,
With the
you know,
whole
that,
community.
Now, like the rock, does the grant say it has to be in a certain spot?
I believe it has to be at the entrance. I can go back and double
Oh,
check.
it just says the entrance.
The entrance, where it is right now, it looks really nice.
Okay.
It's like right in that very nice, growth area. It's like right in the front there.
Okay.
It's like, it looks really nice where it is, so
Alright, that's fine.
I think it might be good to keep it there.
Just wondering if it's
Unless
someplace
you guys
that,
want it out there.
no, that's, I mean, I know that was part of the grant, so.
Yeah, it's
If,
there.
you know, if we want to move it up towards the sign, or if where it leaves, it's fine,
Yeah, it's
that's,
actually right in the front where the kiosk is currently, so.
why is, I couldn't find it, maybe.
It was
covered.
covered.
I just,
It
I was
completely
kicking around, I
covered.
just couldn't find it, so, okay. We can obviously use the kiosk that's there, and we can, I just like to bunch them all up neatly, organized. Okay. Liz, Brad, anything? We good? All right. Budget with my budget
should we just
report.
make sure, does anyone else have anything?
Yeah, we
I just wanna make sure before we.
Yeah.
Well, just wanted to issue, is there something on the sign about no fires?
Let me see on here. Yep, there's something on the sign about no
Okay.
fires. So I had to double check. I'm pretty sure it's one of the rules. It is
We
there.
abut
Sorry.
the property.
I'm sorry.
We abut the property and
Yeah,
then be very
absolutely.
concerned
It's,
about that.
Yeah, this one right there, see it?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's no fires, no tenting, no
Okay.
horseback riding, no ATVs, no snowmobiling.
Excellent, okay.
Um,
No smoking?
I agree with that one, but I don't see that one on here.
No horses, no?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
no
know.
horses, that's weird.
The horses, because
Their
they're not
waste.
considered passive recreation, yeah.
Their waste is cleaner than dog waste.
Yeah, but maybe their hoofs.
Well, that, and then they don't fully digest seeds, so they tend to
Spread.
spread invasive species, as well as their hooves can leave really deep marcations, and it can cause accidents on the trails because of road
They
horses.
bite.
They're like right from,
And they bite.
Put them on a leash with a muzzle.
Yeah, put the horse on a leash.
see one of walk, it's been.
It can
You
be,
need a
it can
big bag for
be,
that one.
there are places in Leominster, Leominster State Forest does allow horses.
Yes,
I did
they
look
do.
into that, so.
Okay,
And I
okay.
think ATVs.
don't believe ATVs are allowed there.
Maybe it's on the access road? or
Bikes
something?
are, dirt, like mountain bikes.
Mountain bikes are allowed, but not ATVs.
No
I
ATVs.
know
There's
I've seen, not necessarily a sign, but I've seen people.
I don't
snowmobiles
believe there
and
is
stuff.
a place in Leominster,
That you can,
that you
right?
can ride ATVs.
Yeah, I
don't
thought it
believe
was a
there
little
is.
odd. There's like an access road.
There are residents.
You got a comment, question?
Yeah, just real quickly, there has been some concern up there about home security in general. So I know in some of the other areas, the more remote you make parking away from the road, sometimes the more difficult it is to secure. So I'd like to make a suggestion, keep that in mind when you are looking at the placement of the parking spaces. Actually, I think the closer we keep it to the road, the more secure it is. Neighbors can see it, PD can see it driving by.
And that was the discussion we had today, was that, while it would be easier for movement to park in the back, it becomes safer. The only thing that may cause an issue is that swall in the front, which when I get the survey back, we'll take a look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there have been some home security concerns up there. People go from the back side, so that's where some of the concerns that were aired out during the other discussions were based on actual situations, so.
I did actually I did have a conversation with a couple of officers about that kind of issue and what they would suggest, anything that we could do as a commission. And quite honestly, they said there's nothing really we can do as a commission. It's public land, they're allowed to have public access. It really would fall, if the property owners wanted to put fencing, they're allowed to put fencing on their property line. But we'd have to make sure, because the property line does abut pretty closely to some of the people's properties and where their homes are and where their pools are. But, it doesn't really fall on the Conservation Commission to regulate that. We have the signs for, close from dusk to dawn. Call the police, they call the police department if there's any suspicious activity. And they can simply put up a sign labeling their property as private property or putting a fence up.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think once we figure out the survey, that'll help us lay out that.
I didn't get a survey for the whole property, just for the parking area.
Yeah, just.
Okay, so I was like, I did not.
Just from the road to the woods.
Okay,
That's
yes,
all.
that's the area.
Just so we know
I
what
just wanted to be
lines are.
sure.
Yeah, we don't need to do 2 lines, just so we know where the property is. Any other comments? Okay. Budget, we got no budget.
No, unfortunately, I was out in the
You were
field.
too busy.
I was-
Agent report?
I have it on my computer, I did not have time to print it out, I got this late.
Okay, Chairman, I'm sorry. Chairman's report, I have nothing. I don't think, no. Our next meeting is August 28th with a filing deadline of the 16th. Anything else we'd like to discuss? And with that, meeting is adjourned.